Namaste, Jai Bharat. A spectre is haunting Europe. The spectre of communism was the beginning of the manifesto of the Communist Party written by Marx and Engels way back, way back. It's very promising, very ambitious, and very positive in thoughts. But unfortunately, there is nothing like unity of thought and action in their theories. Of course, it's a long discussion. We're not going to that. So the communist influence had made definite impact in the world at one point in time, because there were this Soviet Union where there was a genuine communist. That's one thing I would like to mention, that Lenin remained a genuine communist who believed that this is going to be the case, this has to be the case, and this is very genuine theory. He, in spite of being a great dialectician, had failed to notice the possible shortcomings of the theories of Marx. Marx himself, of course, was it was a great fantasy creator, great speculator. He never must have thought about, or never has thought about the negative implications of the theory when it goes to practical level, because his understanding of human being was partial. Some time back I mentioned that Marx believed that man is essentially good, but then that goes against many real theories of man, because man has to live, he has to compete, he has to be involving in cutthroat competition for his own existence, subsistence, and survival. This aspect is not taken care of. Another thing where Marx failed is that once you provide him anything free, the man becomes lazy, waste. He loses all initiatives, and this lack of initiatives will make him incompetent and incapable, and there shall not be any new creations. The Soviet literature is a classical example. I mean, Russian, not Soviet per se. The Russian literature. There was a point in time where the Russians were great novelists, great poets, and great writers. But in the period of communism, they lost their creativity. So there's something that delinks creativity from man in communism, which has to be researched. What precisely is that you lose enthusiasm to live. There's a concept of senility. When persons become senile out of age, then he suddenly loses the initiative and interest, and he just goes on. Because he came of age, and he doesn't have friends, and he has nothing to do. The person who had been doing a lot of things in his younger days suddenly becomes unable to do things like that, where the mind, my mother used to say, where the mind wants you to go, the body doesn't follow. That situation leads to senility. And then of course in philosophy we would like to we make it as a very serious rhetoric, saying that it's a kind of philosophical resignation from. No, that's not really philosophical resignation, it's of a different level, but this is becoming senile, and you're getting into senility. So this kind of a senile atmosphere would come into existence in a communist society, where you have nothing to do. You really have nothing to do. You can't do anything new, because the state is everything. They control this and that. You know the narratives. I'm not going into details. Now, one thing with the communist thinking is that they were emotional people, basically. But when it comes to political practice, as we see in Bharat, they are far flung from emotions and sensitivity and sensibility and humanism. That's the difference that I see in my nation, Bharat. This party, the political parties, who are supposed to be upholding Marxian principles, are least human. So they are very emotional normally, so they think that they can, many things will be, etc. Many things they will be able to do in the interest of human existence. So one thing we find in the theory is that they are against capitalists. because the second epoch is third epoch is capitalism, and the capitalism is a necessary uh, oppressive situation. It's a necessary evil. All told, it comes down to that position. It's a necessary evil. It should not be promoted. It should be done away with, because capitalist, as per Marxian theory, holds on everything and doesn't give things to others. And then he brings out the theory of alienation, that the worker works, and actually the worker is the owner of his production, because he mixes his labor with raw materials to produce the commodity, etc. This theory comes. So things should legitimately go to the worker, and the capitalist doesn't allow that. This is the kind of things. Now, in the modern times, a few expressions of communism that we see in our societies, that you see, they have infiltrated into media. They've infiltrated into publishing, and they have also effectively infiltrated into academia, because the age in academia is such that they're very emotional. And the projected Marxian archetype emotion affects them. So this infiltration still remains. In all these areas, the Marxian infiltration remains, and we are suffering from that kind of a thing. Another thing is that they are against the bourgeoisie. Bourgeoisie means all industrialists shall fall into that category of being bourgeoisie. And they are against capitalists, they are against bourgeoisie, they are against corporates. That's what I wanted to say. Corporates. Now, today's world, it's a corporate who get things done and makes things happen. For the corporates, it's their existence, and they go for cutthroat competition. That, to that extent, is very fair. They go for legitimate competition. May the best man win, like in the sport spirit. But they create situations where they can have upper hand. For instance, you look at my nation, Bharat. Bharat is becoming powerful, becoming economically powerful, with a changed regime at the instance of some people at the leadership, with the leadership of one genuine strong person. Visionary is undoubtedly he. So the nation is becoming strong. Here, of course, the economic structure of Bharat gets strong. It takes time. It takes time that we have to come. We started from nothing. After the British leaving us out of compulsion, we had to start with nothing. They left the country impoverished. Whatever they could carry, they carried. Whatever they could loot, they have looted. And rather, very unscrupulous they used to be with us. Destroyed our not only money, not only the wealth, but also our Sanskriti was greatly damaged by them because of the influence. Look at the education system what we have. Our education is greatly damaged by their kind of influence. So we really had to build up, and we did. Through time, sometimes it was lagging because of the influence of the so-called deep state, which was not explicit in those days, but the corporation does. Now, corporates, they happen to be at one point, one point in space, they were making their own, they were thriving in their own ways, and they do not want somebody else to take their place or somebody else to come forward. So this is a negative aspect of corporate life. They would do everything to deter or to stop someone else coming forward. This, of course, is not definitely sportsman's spirit. They would do it, and as a result, when Bharat is becoming strong, both economically and politically and unity-wise, the nation is united. The nationalism is very important, and that is not anything new with Bharat. The Rig Veda, the last sukta of Rig Veda says that stay together, you will go from strength to strength. So our unity is right provided right in the Rig Veda and the Rig Vedic hymns. The last sukta of Rig Veda says that about unity and our strength, and that we know. So these things will make the nation strong. and they don't want the nation to be strong because they can play with us anymore. They have definite areas of interest. They have definite area of operation. They don't want someone else to come in. So they will do anything and everything to destroy. See, they had been influencing the section of politicians in our nation who were half aliens, half Bhartiyas, and half from some other nation. There are a lot of hybrids, both physically and mentally hybrids. There are many physically totally Bhartiyas, but then hybrids mentally. They have this mental subjugation towards their thoughts, and many people are benefited by that, and they take advantage of it. And the corporate caucus thinks that these people can do make difference and changes. Sometimes they succeed, but not always. And then to destabilize Bharat, they tried everything within. When it failed, they started cooperating in the surrounding nations of Bharat. So the neighboring states there were attempts to destabilize neighboring states, and they were successful to some extent. And this, of course, did not last long, and shall not last long. That's number one. The communists, interestingly, those who are in the Communist Party in Bharat, Bengal used to be a communist state once upon a time. That the Bengalis rejected communism, and they have got another anachronist characters and anachronist party. This is a different game. And the Tripura is a small place, but Tripura majority Bengalis, so this Bengal's influence was there. Then the other place where communism still is, that's interesting, is a southern state of Kerala. They have nothing to do with Marx. They have nothing to do with Marx actually, and they have a caucus. Their political party is something like hooligans, and their own people are being looked after. They create such a lot of caucus. It's totally different from the pressure group concept which David Easton provides in political science. It's not pressure group. It's a caucus. It's a caucus of people who will do anything, and absolutely there's nothing regulating them. See, normally in Bharatiya society we are regulated by dharma. They have nothing like that. They will do anything and everything, and any extent of lying they will do. They blatantly tell lies, knowingly that people know they are lies, but they still keep saying lies, and the people still keep following them. Not that they don't understand that these people speak lies, but because they want to get benefits. All kinds of wrong things they do to maintain their network and caucus. And that's what is happening in Kerala now. Very interestingly, there are so many incidents coming forward. I don't watch everything, but then certainly come to us strikingly kind of things. They have nothing to do with Marx, but they speak of Marxism. They call themselves communists, and they have nothing to do with Marxism. They're against the corporates, and long back they were against Tata and Birla. These days they're against Ambani and Adani. Of course, they're Gujaratis. For us, it's very sensitive. So they don't realize that when the corporates are strong, they don't realize that when the corporates are strong, it's a nation that gets enriched. You see, in Gujarat, the student whom I teach need not to go outside this district to get a job after graduation. If he wants a job after graduation, he doesn't have to go outside his district to get a job. He'll get the jobs. So much of opportunities are there, and that's because of these people. These corporates, not directly Ambani and Adani, they may have their things, but there's so many entrepreneurs and so many factories and so many industries around. You get some job somewhere, and if you don't like it, you can shift. So they provide you food, they provide an opportunity to work. Then you have to work and prove your metal, then you'll be looked after, etc. That's the competitive it is. Not that you sit at home and you'll be spoon fed. No, that's political people like the Congress family. They do nothing but they have fortune in their hands in terms of wealth. Anyway, this communism has become a farce in political democracy. they contest elections and come in power anachronistically, and then they do a caucus kind of ruling, looking after the kin and their own people, helping them, facilitating them for everything, and that. And there's nothing. They simply speak of Mars. If Marx ever happened to see this, now I say he must be turning in his grave. He happened to see this. I'm sure at once he'll disown these idiots and call them all possible names, like what Wittgenstein did in Vienna. See, Wittgenstein wrote that book, Philosophical Investigations, nullifying his earlier book of Tractatus Logica Philosophica. Because this is, of course, those who don't do philosophy, they might not know. Then the group, Vienna Circle people, sat down and they started treating Wittgenstein's Tractatus as the text and started philosophizing. And when once he invited Wittgenstein to go to Vienna and he sat there, and then he said, "You people have understood nothing of me, and you have really mutilated my thoughts, etc." And he abused them. So we'll meet. The anachronistic people are around us with all kinds of flowery stories and narratives and rhetorics of communism. Unfortunately, the academia and the press and the publishing houses, and also to some extent these movies, are still within the myopic influence of communism, and they continue to be lot seekers. We'll meet again with some other thought. Till then, Namaste. Jai Bharat, Jai Shri Ram.